Welcome to another episode of African Holistic Healing with your host, Ambassador Ausar, coming at y'all once again with a topic that is very near and dear to me. It's something that's been in the making for a long time now. We've spoken about this concept for a long time with the fam. Holip knows all about this. The spiritual pimp. We're going to analyze this spiritual pimp tonight. Finally, we get a chance to get to this subject. I'm going to bring in my co-pilot. I'm his co-pilot. He's my co-pilot. We're going to fly this ship together with the rest of my fam. I'm going to bring him in and say what's up to him. Holip. You there, brother?
He's Imp the Dimp, the spiritual pimp. The teachers fight for his insights.
That's right. You remember that? That's it.
What's up?
What's going on, man? This has been a long time in the making. You know, posted up some stuff on the Facebook page, kind of dealing with this subject, the spiritual pimp, and we're gonna get into it. I got a whole list. I didn't come to just a freestyle tonight. I wrote some things down to get into tonight, with the prosperity theology, the health and wealth, prosperity, the gospel that's dealing with Christianity, the spiritual pimp, how to recognize a spiritual pimp. I wrote down 10 ways to recognize a spiritual pimp. These are the 10 out of 100 ways. We're going to get into that, and also the 10 ways to know if you are a spiritual hooker.
Whoa.
Yeah. So we're gonna get right into the proceedings this evening. So everybody hold tight, and we're going to get into this. The 10 ways to recognize a spiritual pimp. The first way, the spiritual pimp identifies himself as a character inside of religious myths or mythos, or claims to be a character incarnate within religious mythology. And the idea behind that is, how could you say that you are one of the X-Men incarnated or avatar for Wolverine when Wolverine or the X-Men never existed? you know what I mean? That's where we start off with. You're claiming a character from inside of a myth. But these characters never existed. The X-Men, you can't say that you are Professor X incarnate or the avatar for the spirit of Professor X, because there is no Professor X. Mythos. The second one, the spiritual pimp is seen as or claims to be a mediator or intercessor between, quote, the creator and man. And the idea behind that is only through them or through their teachings will you be saved, liberated, or get, quote, the truth.
So the spiritual pimp believes in the mystery God.
Yes, he does believe in the mystery God. And as you see that he becomes, which is when we get to number 3, the spiritual pimp transforms from various titles / positions in ascending order, going from the student to the teacher to the messenger to the reformer to the Messiah to an alien incarnate to God to Lord, etc., etc., etc. It keeps getting higher and higher. It keeps elevating in an ascending order. He's going from one minute he just was a teacher until he ends up being God or the Creator incarnate or some alien avatar incarnate.
So is it safe to say that all spiritual pimps have to endorse the mystery God no matter what religion they claim? It seems that way.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to run through them real quick, and we're going to get to them. So he identifies himself as a character inside of the religious mythos, or claims to be a character incarnate within a religious mythology. Only through them, the spiritual pimp claims to be a mediator or some intercessor. You can't get to the Creator until you get through them. The spiritual pimp, he goes from various titles from an ascending order, going from just a teacher, so then he goes into the messenger, to the apostle, to a reformer, a Messiah, to eventually being God himself in the person. The The spiritual pimp cannot be questioned or discourages free thinking that contradicts or challenges the accepted doctrine or dogma. And the idea behind that is without questions, critical thinking is lost and accountability forfeited. This is when the real brainwashing or indoctrination takes place. The question to ask the followers is, what teaching or what part of the doctrine do you disagree with and why? They will have none. That's the test. If you don't disagree with anything that this man says, chances are he's a spiritual pimp and you will fall into a spiritual hooker. Also, number 5, money hyperconsciousness. Promotion of material consumption and accumulation as central theme. This would include prosperity theology, justification of wealth, the get-rich mantras, the name it, claim it, and this is the secret. The money and power accumulation under the guise of religious concepts. This is the justification of indulgence and participation in, quote, unquote, Satan's kingdom without being obvious. You know what I mean? You're getting all this money in the kingdom that you said belonged to the devil, but you're getting paid in Satan's kingdom, in the devil's kingdom. Number 6, spiritual pimps amass tremendous wealth and live a lavish lifestyle. They look like a pimp and prospering under the devil's system and acquiring the devil's currency. And the idea behind that is if it walks, talks, and acts like a duck, why wouldn't it be a duck? The philosophy, I guess, goes with you. They'll be in the world, get all the riches of the world, and then wait to get to heaven to get some more. Number 7, isolation from other community members, leaders, family to further the indoctrination or the control. And the idea behind that is once you are no longer able to listen to other viewpoints or challenge other concepts, the pimp can then monopolize control over your mind and control you much deeper. And the refusal to come together with others further enforces the exclusive messiah role claimed by the pimp. And I guess the idea would be you don't need the savior. You need the savior. The savior doesn't need you. That's the mentality behind that. Number 8, spiritual pimps have multiple affairs and children by their followers. This shows both intent to control and manipulate and maintain ownership over their followers. Number 9, spiritual pimps have past or present incarcerations or, quote, brushes with the law, which expose character flaws contradictory to the assumed or expected personality of the pimp. These brushes with the law is usually hidden or downplayed among followers as a sign of the pimp claimed to be divine. He's being persecuted. This is why they're being persecuted, not the fact that they broke the law intentionally. Observe the charges brought against the pimp and question how could they have even gotten arrested being who they claim to be? How could you arrest Allah, first of all? I guess this arrest was all a part of the prophecy. And number 10, ways to identify a spiritual pimp. The spiritual pimp makes multiple predictions and prophecies that never come true, but only receive extensions, postponements, and changes of plans. This is the God was misquoted. The ships are coming. The sham ships is on its way. We lost the covenant, or God changed his mind. So that's just the 10 ways to recognize a spiritual pimp. What you feel about that, Holip?
You covered it. You pretty much covered it. I would just add on a little bit, like when you said about sleeping with multiple followers, because I was going to say, like the spiritual pimp is all about ass. I was going to say pussy, but we know that that's not necessarily the only way that they go. Mm-hmm. So they just about ass a lot, Another thing, like when you said about the previous brushes with the law,
right?
I would add that that's usually when their mission was revealed to them. When they're behind bars.
Okay. That's the training ground. That's the training ground for getting out there to being a spiritual pimp. You have to do a little time.
Right.
A little
and
JP.
usually that's when you do that time, you come out and you are ready.
Right. Seasoned. So we got to really see this for what it is. Like I said, we have to really see that the pimps, and I'm glad you mentioned that in the paint in there. We're going to get into this prosperity theology. The notion that you're blessed by God, Jesus, whatever, where they want to say it, by obtaining this wealth. And the problem is I have a lack mentality. The problem is that we're not giving over to the abundant blessings that's waiting for us until we name it and claim it. My thing to these gentlemen is this. How are you going to tell me that was Jesus' central message when nowhere in the Bible did Jesus even build churches? This man was a carpenter according to the Bible, which would be interesting enough. A carpenter builds. He's got 12 people to help him build. Why wouldn't each disciple have his own church? And Jesus make it very clear. Now you need to get out there and get Caesar's money. Get Caesar's currency. That's going to show me that you're really blessed and you're really serious. Because if you ain't prospering with Caesar's currency, you're not doing it. You're not blessed. He never said that. In fact, he said quite the opposite. He gave a parable where it would be easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. And that is in Luke 18, 22 to 25. The camel to go through the eye of a needle. You could say, that didn't mean, what it means is that it is impossible, according to what he was saying, for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven. He says, do not store up for yourself treasures on earth where moth and rust consume, where thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourself treasures in heaven. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. No man can serve two masters. Either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. So, are they reading this? Is this in their Bible?
Wow.
You can't get more clearer than that. The love of money in 1 Timothy, even Paul talks about this. For we brought nothing into this world. This is 1 Timothy 6, 7 to 10. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out. And having food and clothing, with these we shall be content. But those who desire to be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and harmful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil, for which some have strayed from the faith in their greediness and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. Where is the get your money? I heard Creflo Dollar say, if you don't get this money, that is a source of your pain. You need to get this money. I'm
right.
About the money.
Well, if you notice, in the clips that you sent me, I don't see these guys picking up a Bible. That's the clip with the dude talking about all of this. They're giving all this financial information and how to do this and whatever, but I don't see no scriptures being read. I don't see them picking up and reading it. Before, at least they used to just read a scripture and then start building off of it.
Right.
Now they just completely supernatural in it.
They go into right. And the thing is about it. Now, where did they get this concept from? I want to say, let's start before we get on our brothers, because dealing in the vein of racism, white supremacy, we got to go to the grand architect, the highest of all pimps. So this is the man who the pimp. This is what like Beanie Siegel said. I'm the man who supply you. This is the supplier of them, the Pope that sits in the Vatican.
Yep. He's the ultimate.
he's the ultimate pimp. He's the ultimate pimp. You know what I mean? He's the one which they got. Remember, the Catholic Church had where you were paying your way into heaven.
Mm-hmm.
You had to give them money to assure that, and if you ain't giving the right money, well, sorry.
And the Catholic Church has the most holes out on the street.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And what people don't realize is that all these preachers that are calling themselves bishops and apostles, like I sent the clip with Fred Price being anointed an apostle. Someone is making him an apostle. He's walking through in the ceremony. He's got swords over his head. Show me that in the Bible. Did you know that, Christians? That Fred Price was being ushered in with people standing there looking like Catholics with the swords over his head, making sure that he stays in line and he understands what this is about. He was given this title by who? Obviously, the Catholic Church, the apostle, the bishop. These are not Protestant titles. You know what I mean? This was a whole, exactly. And this was a Masonic ritual. That whole thing with Fred Price was a Masonic ritual. What Christians have to realize is that no matter what denomination you claim to be, you are under the umbrella of Catholicism, Roman Catholicism under Constantine's Christianity. I'm sorry. That's the facts. That's the facts. And all these preachers out here, from Eddie Long Money, from the Creative Flow of Dollars, from Fred Priceless, from He's a Liar Walker, from T.D. Snakes, from Bati McKirkland, all these guys pay their tithes to the grand church.
Bati McKirkland.
Right. Not Donnie, Bati. McKirkland.
Oh.
They pay their tithes to the church. And that's a fact. But this I showed you. Want to get some more? Matthew 19:21. Jesus said to him, if you wish to be complete, go and sell your possessions and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven, and come follow me. Not like my man showed you, Reverend Leroy Thompson, money, money, money. They had a ritual where they had the whole church, like their hands, like my brother told me, like my brother G was talking about that, hands over like they were worshiping the golden calf. Literally worshiping money in the church. Literally having money on the altar, running across the money in the church. You can't see something wrong with that. You can't see that's a little something strange in that.
I would love to see the people who follow these people. I would love for them to call in. That would be beautiful. Like if we had somebody that actually listened to Creflo Dollar, I would love for them to call in. But I don't think they're going to call in.
I would love for them to call in as well. Anybody that's listening to this, please, if you are a member of any one of those any one of those spiritual pimps that I mentioned earlier, please call in to this number, 347-850-8653. And let's talk about that and explain to me how you can justify that. You know, they said Oral Roberts was another one that was one of the founding fathers. You have your founding fathers of that ministry where they blended in Christianity and prosperity. Oral Roberts, the Herbert Armstrongs. This is the think and get rich scheme that they came up with, and using the church to justify it. And I thought about this on it. I said, why is it so easy for all these people to believe in this? You know why? Because two concepts. One, the Christian concept of materialism, and that that your blessings. They believe in the concept that that you will be blessed, and you'll be blessed by material items, and they believe in capitalism. These Christians are not out here fighting the system. They're not out here fighting the capitalistic system. They get up, they go to work, they pay their tithes, 10% of everything that they earn, they give to these people. You got guys with 20,000 members, and they're getting 10% of 20,000 people.
Now, isn't that 10% a symbolic figure?
10%. True indeed. Who are the 10%? For those of you that don't know your lessons out there, you didn't study the 5% lessons. Who are the 10%? The concealers of the truth, the ones that keep the 5% from teaching the 85%, the lost, and deaf, dumb, and blind. Yeah, that's it.
And where did they get that from?
This 10%. They want to go back to the Old Testament and talk about 10%, but guess what? How come you can't tell me, Ivy the Queen, you're right, it is in Leviticus, it is in Old Testament, but guess what? How come Jesus did not say you need to give 10%? He didn't even build no church. He didn't tell you about giving 10% of none of your earnings. Why wouldn't he say that? If he is the one that came, he is God in the flesh, and he came to present this new doctrine. Because again, Christians have a way of conveniently choosing which Old Testament they want to follow. You want to follow the Old Testament, we talk about 10%, but you don't want to follow where they say don't eat pork and don't do a lot of other stuff. You don't want to follow that part. That part Jesus paid with the precious blood. on that part. That's the part he paid with the blood. I can eat my pork because he paid at Calvary for that one. But you need to still give me 10% of your earnings. And Jesus never mentioned giving 10% to nobody. He told them, render unto Caesar. When they asked him about taxes, they were asking him in the story, should we pay taxes? He said, render unto Caesar what is he. Give the man his money. This is his currency. He want to get his tax, give him the money. But they have a problem with that. I have a big problem with that. But I want to go into, let me see. I see some hands up. I'm gonna bring a couple of callers in and see what's going on with them. Let's bring in last 40418. Peace. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Peace. In the paint, Max 611.
Oh.
Brooklyn. What's up, family? You know how we build. You know we've been building on this for a long time.
We've been talking about these spiritual pimps for over 20 years.
Yes, we have.
And we're going to name the names too. But what you got to add on to this, brother?
I just wanted to add. I'm gonna find it for you. I had read some articles in the past where young men who are gay, they said the person who turned them out was their reverend. And these reverends are also the reverends, the imams, very sexual. And you know that.
Yeah.
And also, I wanted to talk about the flock, the people that are in the churches and in the mosques. They tend to look at the leader or the minister or the imam. They look at him as God, and he can do no wrong. You know.
Can't be questioned.
I've come out of, I was raised a Baptist, and also I went to a Catholic school, and at one point was going to become a Muslim. So I've seen, quite a bit of how it all goes down. And, like you built on earlier in the show, usually they're very colorful speakers,
Right.
Very colorfully dressed, very, very articulate, and they can do no wrong in people's eyes. I remember when Khalid was alive, I remember when we had Third Eye, I met a sister and we were talking about Khalid, and she was like, "Oh, it's, you know, something about his bald head and the way he speaks. And I'm like, sister, did you catch his message, you know? And people, they look for something that they can't find in themselves, and that's how the spiritual pimp will get you.
Oh, yeah. And we're going to get into that, too. I got the 10 ways to know if you're a spiritual hooker as well. We're going to do the ways to identify that. But we're going to get into it. Hold on. Yes.
I got one thing I want to add. I had wrote this a long time ago, and I reworked it. The Spiritual Pimps freestyle, and can I give that out to the audience?
Sure.
It's 2010, so let's begin. Can I spit game to you square lane? This is pure grind. Too much sin and crime. I got your mind rate. More hoes than a Jake's Freaks Hoes and Flows tape. My percent is a 10, which is always a win. 33 and a third is how I'm clocking. Men and women is jocking. Whether I'm in the church or mosque, my ministry do rock. Do you know I got a crazy flock?
That's the spiritual pimp. You know,
we're gonna have to put some lyrics, some instrumentals on to do some freestyles tonight.
on the spiritual pimp. Hold on, Mac. I'm gonna bring you back in a minute. Let me get another call. Hold on 1 minute.
All right.
Yeah, the spiritual pimp. Let me put him on hold. What's so interesting is that people can't recognize the spiritual pimp, which seems to be, they seem so obvious. You know what I'm saying? To anybody, it seems so obvious, but people can't see that. Why do you think that is?
I think it's because people want to believe in things because it helps. They think that it might benefit them, and they figure that if this person is saying it, that this is true. You know, like they figure if this person is preaching this and owning that concept, then they can always have an out when it comes time to dealing with the Creator. You see, because the religious mind plays all kinds of tricks to justify doing certain things. Like, I always wondered, like, if you know that you're hell-bound by cheating, why do you do it? According to the Bible and the most religious, that's a hell-bound activity right there.
Right.
But yet, you still do it. Why is that?
They draw you in by even the temptation of telling you. That's like telling a child, listen, I'm getting ready to go to the store. Do not go into this box right here. Do not. If you go into this box, you're going to be in big trouble. As soon as you leave, because you put that out there like that, you have tempted him. He's going directly to that box.
Right.
Why don't you put the box? That's the whole story with the Garden of Eden. Of all the trees, don't go here. Why put that test out there? I'm not going to put a loaded gun for my kids that can possibly destroy them.
That's why my favorite scene was in that movie, The Devil's Advocate, with Al Pacino. When he gave that speech, he said that God is the ultimate prankster. He gives man instincts and then changes the game around on him. So look, but don't touch.
Right.
Touch, but don't taste. You know? And that's just, and just to build on the whole hip-hop thing, if you know how hip-hop is like an offshoot of R&B, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to equate what R&B was, R&B would be the Catholic Church and the Pope.
Yeah.
Then would it be fair to say that Reverend Ike would be Grandmaster Caz?
He would be, yes. Reverend Ike, he is the grandfather of the spiritual pimps, the black spiritual pimps. He totally revolutionized the way preachers was, and he told you, he said, the lack of money is the root of all evil.
Mm-hmm.
Not the love.
Bible.
The lack
of money. He was bold enough to change the scriptures.
Ain't that something?
And nobody said anything about it.
They did not say anything about it. Here go Blog Talk Radio. I done lost my switchboard. What do you normally do? When you just hit refresh, what do you normally do?
Hit refresh and see if that works.
I got the chat room up. I don't have my board. Here they go. But anyway, that's what they do. I want to get into some of the things like.
Oh, Dev said hit F5.
Hit F5. Okay, let's try that. It says it has an HTTP 404. Thanks, Blanco.
Yeah. I would just keep refreshing. It's going to go away soon. That's their ritual now.
Well, since they're doing that, I'm going to get into now the 10 ways to know if you're a spiritual hooker. Because you got to know that. I should close that up, and then if I close, I'm in the chat room. If I close down the other one, I got two windows open. Is that going to take you guys out?
No, it shouldn't, because that happened to me before, and everybody was still able to chat.
No, I mean not the chat room. I got the chat line open, and I got the other line where my switchboard is. If I close
click out of the switchboard, yeah.
Okay, I can. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna try that now. I'm gonna try to close out and then just come back on with that, right?
Right.
All right. You guys still there?
Yep. They're all gonna be there. The switchboard don't really affect them.
Let's see. But yeah. Well, let me get into that while I do that. The 10 ways to know if you're a spiritual hooker. Number 1, the refusal to question or challenge anything your pimp says or does. And if you agree with everything your leader says and become uncomfortable when someone challenges or questions your pimp, then
you are a spiritual hooker.
You know you are a spiritual hooker if you refuse to acknowledge other truths other than what your pimp says is the truth. If you're afraid to research and cross-examine what your pimp says is true, or refuse to listen to anyone else but your pimp, then
you are a spiritual hooker.
If you support your pimp financially, even though their lifestyle is beyond extravagant, if you see no contradiction or question why you should still be giving money to a man that, quote, is already loaded, end quote. That's Creflo Dollars who said that. Then
you are a spiritual hooker.
If you're having children by your pimp, even though he had 10, you already knew about. If sleeping with a pimp and having his baby makes you feel special or like Mary from the Christian mythos, then
you are a spiritual bitch.
Number 5, refusal to actually study the pimp's lessons and see the contradictions and plagiarisms therein. If you can't accept that your pimp stole or borrowed someone else's doctrine and the clear proof of such is provided, or if you don't actually read and analyze your pimp's doctrine but accept it all on face value, then
you are a spiritual hooker.
If you suspend, number 6, logical thinking and accept mythological psychology, meaning if you can't be critical and analytical, or if you can be critical and analytical about all other areas of your life, except when it pertains to your pimp or his doctrine, then
you are a spiritual hooker.
Number 7, if you refuse to see past the game your pimp is clearly laying down, meaning if you still can't recognize the man in the Cadillac with the shiny suit, the expensive jewelry, the wad of money, and the girls running up to him, handing him money as a pimp, if you can't see that that's a pimp, then
you are definitely a spiritual hooker.
You're a spiritual hooker. Number 8, if you refuse to become the master you so faithfully worship in them, meaning you're not striving to realize the divinity in you and perfect yourself, but will rather observe and support the next man as that master. Well, then,
you're a spiritual hooker.
Number 9. And my board is back. Thank you, Brother Dev. That's why you're in the zone. Number 9. If you move from one stable or whorehouse, meaning religion, to the next, meaning if once your spiritual pimp dies, gets locked up, or disappears off the set, and you're, like Jay-Z says, on to the next one, then
you're a spiritual hooker.
And finally, number 10, if after the gig is up and your pimp has been exposed as the fake charlatan pimp he really is, and you still follow them and argue in their defense and believe they are who they said they were, then
you are definitely a spiritual pimp.
And I do like how David Letterman, after he does that, he take it and just throw the paper aside. Come on, man. I got a bridge to sell you. Every time you go across this bridge, just give me $100 and just shh. It'll be our secret. Don't tell nobody. That's a deal for you. Okay?
Hey, didn't something happen to you recently, you and Malik? You had mentioned it.
Oh, yeah. We had a brother that all of a sudden, mysteriously enough, he posted something about Dr. York. And then I posted a little comment about Dr. York, who is a spiritual pimp. And Malik made a comment that was removed. And next thing you know, I tried to get on this brother's site, who I did contact with. He did tell me it was an error. He just cleared his board. I was like, okay. But Dr. York, for the record, is a spiritual pimp, was a spiritual pimp, and always will be a spiritual pimp.
And that's the reality, people. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I wish it weren't true, just like you. But he's not the man from the planet Ritz. The sham ships, notice the word sham. The sham ships aren't coming because they were supposed to have been there in 2003, the pickup. He happened to get locked up 2002, May 8th, so he missed that. The sham ships aren't coming. They never was coming. And the fact of the matter is that he is sitting in prison right now. Unfortunately for any black man, I don't wish any black man to be in jail, but what he was in jail for, admitting to molesting children. Now, I put this up on my Facebook, not to be disrespectful to anyone, but to state the fact that if you, as a warrior, if you're not willing to say, nah, there's no way in the hell you're going to make me or convince me to say some shit like that. Hell no. Hell no, I ain't do that. If he would have said that, I would have probably believed him.
Mm-hmm.
I would have gave him the benefit of the doubt. But the fact that he admitted, go to YouTube and see it, he admitted, and he had a look of shame on his face when he said that, ain't no way in the hell he's innocent. How is he innocent?
No,
How is he innocent?
See what it is, and see, this is the reason why they're able to do the things that they do, because they can always come. You can always come to your bitches and break shit down and explain things away. It's just like a dude. It's just like a dude who's cheating on a girl, and he knows that the girl is just hopelessly on his dick. So then he'll come back and he'll say, listen, everybody's saying all this stuff about me, but the real deal is this. This is what happened, and the reason why I did this is because of da da da. And they'd be like, oh, word, really? That's what happened? See, these people is fucking around. They don't know why they playing these games. And then y'all start building on that. And then, he still got people that's riding for him. And not just women.
No, mostly men.
Yeah. Riding.
Mostly men. He is who he says he is. He said, you remember the scene?
Can I add a number 11?
Sure. Oh, go ahead.
You know that you are a spiritual hooker when you call in another man paternal names. Because I noticed that. Pops.
Daddy, father. Right, father. And to get back to Ivy, I'm glad Ivy is back on. Ivy, I wanted to wait till you got back on to say that. You know why there's so much flamboyant homosexuality in the church? Because really the root of it, and this is kind of on the topic, off the topic, if you really break it down, the whole Christian imagery is a gay Jesus. Look at how now come on. Look at the look of the man that they say is Jesus. This white man, thin, the robe falling off the shoulder, looking so with the hands, the little flamboyant gesture, the scene with him next to I guess probably Peter or whatever that they did in the Da Vinci Code with the V. That looks very feminine. Every image of Jesus is a feminized image, and if you saw a man like that walking the streets in today's time, you would assume he was a faggot.
Now let me ask you a question, because you would probably know this more than me. The person who is responsible for that image is Michelangelo, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, usually with most paintings, these guys didn't just make these paintings up out off their head. They usually had a subject when they made these paintings. Like when you look at these old Victorian movies and all this other stuff, there's usually some woman or there's some man who's posing for them while they do this.
Right.
So who was the man that was posing for Michelangelo when he did that picture? The famous picture that everybody identifies as Jesus Christ.
Would have to be none other than his lover. Can only be that. You don't see that. You don't see by telling a man, if I told you before, that it all stems back to the Catholic Church, whether you want to believe it or not. Unfortunately, the history says that. Celibacy is advocated. The woman is the enemy. In most, when you strip it all the way down, Eve is the problem. The woman is the problem.
That's like that's some old Star Wars shit.
Yeah. Because they don't show Jesus as being married. They don't show Jesus so they show Jesus as looking like how he looking in them images. And I see the quotes. I'm going to get to y'all in 1 minute. Looking like how he's looking. Dressed the way he's dressed. No kids. No talking about women. Told you can't even think about a woman. If you lust, if you think about that ass, you already committed adultery. So now where that leads you? That leads you into the confessional, which is the modern day peep show. The way the confessional is set up like a peep show.
Yeah.
You sit up in there, the priest is in there, and you in there in the booth, fulfilling his sick fantasies by you telling him all your deep, dark desires and your sexual repressions and everything like that. He feeds off of that. He's on the other side, jaying off on the other side.
That's right.
That's the facts.
That's right.
That's the facts. This is a mind game. This is a spiritual pimpology. And these other dudes knew what time it was. They was like, you know what? I'm gonna get my money because they don't believe it. You guys see the only way you can do something like that, blatantly contradict the Bible when we can clearly show you, is because you don't believe it anyway.
Right.
It's a hustle. You don't care. You don't care.
So that's why they storing up their riches right now.
Exactly. I'm gonna bring in I believe this is Dev right here. Peace. Peace, brother Dev. What's good, fam?
Hey, man, first thing I want to do, man, I just want to pass around this plate to the brothers and sisters in the congregation and put some cash in my pocket before we get the praying and building and things on here, son.
Money!
If I don't get no cash and no money,
right,
loud.
Yeah.
First of all, hold on. Let me speak in tongues real quick.
Right. Shaka Khan.
I had to Shaka Khan, yo. Shama-lama, ding dong.
You know what, Dad? Holit made a good point a long time ago. He said, you notice that they don't start speaking in tongues until the music start playing.
Yeah. The money, they boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
It's like you're at the garden. Sound like you're at the garden.
Have you ever noticed that the Holy Ghost goes right in line with like James Brown. Like if you've been in a club, I've been in a club and seen people catch the Holy Ghost.
Right. Hell yeah! You start speaking in tongues and falling out and falling on the floor back.
Right.
Yep, there you go.
I've seen it in house music all the time.
All the time.
I remember talking to an older dude saying, where did that come from where the preacher starts talking? Like, you got a guys like, you got a Martin Luther King. He said it came from James Brown.
Right.
Damn it, jump back, I'm going to kiss myself. See you.
Yeah, Little Richard.
Right. You mixing Little Richard, James Brown with the church.
Let me tell you something. When I was young and I used to go to church, I used to look in the Bible and try to find hat. I didn't know what hat was. I said, ain't no hair in between here. But when he preaches, he always got that hair in it. So I didn't even know, man. I'm telling you.
But at least the preacher back in the old days, they had you in that hot church, in a hot Pentecostal church, starting from, the service would be from 7 to 7.
Right. 7 to 7.
You'd be there all day long. He got a little dinner for your day. His talk was really about the scriptures. You know, I mean, he wasn't really deep into the Bible, but he would at least give you,
what
an idea that he was talking from the Bible.
Exactly. But I didn't understand is how I can give for the, I would give for the building fund, which we never saw nothing get built. I would give for the tithe, and I would give an offering, and then you had the show some love fund. And then I still had to pay for dinner when I got downstairs. I'm like, damn. I should have brought my whole check here. You know? Shoot. I go to church now with my kids and my family. I'll be like, this is going to cost me about $900 a day just to go to church.
Because you imagine that when it started getting real tight, when the economy started getting, because they already got the direct deposit. The money is coming out directly. But let's just say, for instance, people start losing their jobs and they can't get their tithes up. They're going to start walking up on people, the preacher walking up on you, staring you down, patting your pockets, like, yo, you ain't gave in a long time, nigga.
There's a church here in New York City called the Christian Cultural Center. There's a church here in New York City called the Christian Cultural Center. You cannot become a member of that church until you show them your W-2 form.
Wow.
You have to see how much money you made. You have to show your and he has over 27,000 members. It's the same church your girl Salt and Pepper goes to, and your mayor, the mayor in New York goes to.
Wow.
And I've always had a question. Like, if I say, I'm worth about $1 billion, so that means that I got to give $100 million every week I come to church? Woo! Because you got to give 10% in your tithes that means I got to give $100 million every time I come to church?
Is it 10% every time you go to church, or is it 10% for the year?
10%, no, it's 10% of your earnings, your weekly earnings. You can give tithes either once a month, which would be 4 times of what it is, or once a week at 10%. So
whoa. Where in the Bible does it say anything about your weekly earnings?
They just making it up.
It's your whatever your increase is. You have to give 10% of whatever your increase is.
Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit.
I'm saying I'm just trying to figure out. After I make all these billions of dollars, I'll never step in the church because I can't be seeing me giving up $100 million and my name ain't on the front of it. It's going to be like the Church of God in Christ in Dale.
First of all, I'm bugging out at the fact that the church can take direct deposit from you. Doesn't that make them a business?
Hold up. CCC got ATMs inside their church.
Right.
So you ain't got no excuse in there. You go up in there and look, the ATM is out there. Get that money from about there, bro. And bring it in.
Wow. It's a shutdown.
You go up in CCC, you cannot move. Huh?
Do you have anybody that goes to these churches that you can call and tell them to call right now?
Well, guess what? The lines is live. I got about 9 people on the line right now.
Let me go. Hold up. I'll do that. Let me go load up my weapons first because you're about to send about 100,000 niggas to my house right now.
I see you, 803, area code 803. I'm gonna bring you in, but yes, that's serious pimping. That's serious.
Right. The offerings and your tithes are tax deductible. You can write that off on your taxes and get that back on your taxes.
I don't know why, because if you conduct a business like that, you should be.
Yeah, you can get it back. You can get it back later. You can allegedly get it back later. How do they now? If you're dealing with the government in terms of claiming offerings, how is church and state separated?
Hey, I don't know. They got a cool way about doing it. That's all I know, bro.
Creflo Dollar said, and I quote, "I'm not here for your money. I don't need your money. I'm already loaded." He said, I didn't come here in Delta. I have my own jet.
Right. He got his own jet. Sure, I'm trying to get my own bicycle. He got a jet. Damn, I'm doing the wrong thing.
Leroy Thompson said he got a $16,000 dog.
Any ladies out there that want to be my first lady, I'm starting the church tomorrow. We got to get some money. Any ladies want to be my first lady, I'm starting the church tomorrow, brothers. I'm sorry.
Yeah, hold on a minute. I'm going to bring in this other caller. I'm going to keep you on.
Okay, brother.
Isn't that something? Let me bring this call. I'm going to bring in a caller because I want to hear from the family.
They're just making shit up, man.
Yeah, making it up. Caller.
10% of your weekly earnings. Where the hell in the Bible does it say that?
Area code 803. Your line is open. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yo, what up? This is Thomas. What's the deal, son?
Thomas, what's going on, brother?
Going on, brother? Yeah, you know how I feel about this one.
You been peeping the show. I done put it down. I put down the 10 ways to know if you're a spiritual hooker. 10 ways to recognize a spiritual pimp. I mean, what more do they want?
Well, I don't know. Y'all might want to listen to Truthful Out show because Tommy Hart was on there breaking it down, and he pointed out on Sunday all the different references with this character known as Jesus Christ was naked around men. And basically his bottom line on the Bible is that the Bible was not written for people of color. It was written for the Gentiles, a.k.a. the whites.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Right. He said, so that's what the truth, that's what the truth is. So when you listen to that show, he'll be laughing because he points out several different references in where Jesus is naked around his disciples. So the homosexuality, he addresses that on Sunday's show, so you might want to check that out. But the other thing is, huh?
No, you're right. It's in there. It's in there.
Yeah.
You said another point you had?
And then the other thing is, this whole prosperity nonsense, this prosperity ministries, there's a reason. There's a friend of mine that, unfortunately, she's one of those people. She's a devout churchgoer, and she had this belief that things are just going to be all right, and that she was going to be put in a better situation. Well, I just happened to check on this person. I was so upset because she knew she had tossed me out, screamed on it, because she got a house where she said, well, I've been praying on it. I hadn't made my payments in a year, and, I thought I was going to get this money from this settlement, and I thought that NACA was going to help me. So now she's a year down on her damn payments, thinking that the Lord going to give her a settlement, and that now she don't have to worry about her house payment no more.
What happened to name it and claim it? What happened to the name it and claim it?
Oh, man, I was ready to fucking flip out. I said, you need to go ahead and start making payments again. You need to get a damn payment plan or take money out of your IRA or something to pay this damn. And you wait and say, well, they try to make it seem like they really don't want to take your house. I said, you got a house with $50,000 equity. They take your house, they're going to make money. A bank is a blood-sucking vampire, and you waiting and believing that, the Lord's going to deliver you from this? I mean, you know what,
Thomas? On a serious note, what this shows me is that these preachers have a disdain and a hatred for the people. That's what it really shows you. It's almost like when you see like an innocent child, right? Mm-hmm. And you want to take that child and you want to corrupt that child. That means you hate that child.
Right.
You cannot do this. The spirit that they're coming from is not a spirit of love.
No, it's not.
It's not.
It's not.
Because our people are already damaged. Our people are already confused. And it's easy to make fun of them, but I'm looking at it as really sad. I mean, these people are sitting up here caught up in this whirlwind of greed and stupidity on the part of these people. And they don't even realize. It's like you can't join a church unless you give them your tax information. What type of shit is that?
That Creflo steal your dollars on that bullshit. That's that bullshit he on. You know what I mean? Give me your damn tax. I wish I would kick myself getting some of my goddamn tax return.
It's amazing that they could even say that with a straight face to somebody that's coming into a church.
Well, you know what's so interesting, and that takes me to the next thought process on how were they able to You know, that's how the P. Diddy's is all about the Benjamins, and he's able to go and people, and these preachers are pretty much saying the same thing. They have merged capitalism with so-called spirituality. But here's the kicker. Forget about the spiritual pimps out there, because there's so many of them. With so many, I mean, it's hustle. It's like the crack. You could be a crack dealer. You could have 100 crack dealers, and they all making money. What about all the followers? What about all the millions of people that's out here that are members of these churches? The mentality that they are bringing even to the global market. They say that the housing market, these preachers are responsible for it. I've heard people say that these preachers are responsible for the housing bubble, a lot of bubbles, financial bubbles that burst with this whole name it and claim it bullshit. These preachers are really responsible for it.
Yeah.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? But Thomas, you got something? I want to.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. Make your point. If anybody, I got like 9 callers on. If you want to say something, just press 1 on your phone, so I know you want to come in. I'll get opportunity. You know, I bring you guys in. But go ahead, Thomas.
Yeah, and the last thing when you talked about that 10%, that's that bullshit that the Catholic Church thought, that tithing shit. It's just like, you know, when they start talking about, okay, the Catholic Church came up with that as part of their canon, that 10%, and inserted that bullshit in there. And then just like they have those so-called indulgences that you could buy your way out of you know, certain sins and shit. This is all nonsense. And then they mask themselves under 501c3, and that's how they get the favorable tax treatment. But we can go on and on about that bullshit. So good looking.
You remember the senator, this Republican senator, tried to challenge them. He had a group of them that he wanted to challenge them as far as disclosing their financial statements. And there was a big to-do with that.
And don't be surprised if they put a hit out on his ass.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Because this ain't got nothing to do, right, they'll do that. Because this stuff ain't got nothing to do with God or the Bible. I'm gonna put you on hold, all right?
All right.
All right, and I'm gonna go to a couple of commercials. We got like 50 now. We got another hour left. We're gonna get back into that. I'm gonna put them on hold. Let's get into a couple of commercials here.
Welcome to the desert of the real.
Peace, family. This is your brother, Holla, a.k.a. Mr. Holipsis, a.k.a. the Buzz King. Tune in to Holipsism's Haven every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we discuss the social, economic, and political issues of the day with a common-sense approach, an African-centered perspective, and a universal sensibility. Call-in number 347-843-4874. That's 347-843-4874. To check out related YouTube videos, blogs, and show archives, visit www.holipsism.com. That's www.holipsism.com. I'm making it hard to get your Negro on. Hotep, Black Power.
There's something wrong with the world. You don't.
Peace, family. This is Max 611, a.k.a. the Dream Shatterer. Every Tuesday at 9 p.m., we'll be posted up in the paint. I'm bringing you the realest forum in sports entertainment. All herd writers and journalists will be put on blast. I will interview former and current sports personalities, as well as analysis on your favorite sports topics. Call in and deal with me at 347-426-3634. That's 347-426-3634. To chat and listen online, go to www.blogtalkradio.com/inthepaint. That's www.blogtalkradio.com/inthepaint. I'm taking these fake lame media types down low and posting them up. Peace.
Tune into The Zone with Dev and Queen Esther. Lay back, relax, pour your favorite drink, and let your mind unwind. Feel the vibe of smooth, jazzy sounds, R&B classics, and sexy slow jams. Allow Dev and Queen Esther to put you in the zone. Every Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, call in for requests at 347-884-8830. That's 347-884-8830. Log in, listen, or chat live at www.blogtalkradio.com/thezonewithdev. That's www.blogtalkradio.com/thezonewithdev.
Yeah. You know, we back, got Holip back on. You know, like I said, we have to do this. We have to expose this because this is 2010, and people still can't even recognize a man that to us is obvious. Like I said, you see a guy in a Cadillac. He got leopard prints in the Cadillac. He has on a bright suit. He got a wad of money in his hand, jewelry, jelly curls dripping out his cap, girls running up to him giving him money, and you say, nah, that's not a pimp. Why can't he just happen to just like to dress that way? Okay. These guys are very obvious.
We always make that disconnect. It's like we got real life and then we got fantasy life. And if somebody lives the fantasy, then we never equate it with the real. It's just like if you were to see a dude walking in the street with high heels on and his ass cheeks hanging out, you would call him a faggot.
Right.
But Prince can do it, and nobody even bats an eye.
It's a
do you see last 4 digits 7060 on there or 8969?
No. I see a lot of callers that do not have their hand up. I assume you're just listening. It's okay. I'm going to start bringing y'all in a little bit. I'm going to let y'all chill. But press the 1 button if you want to say add on. Like I tell people, my argument with is not with being prosperous. You know what I mean? I don't have a problem with that. But don't say you're serving this Jesus that you have in your Bible, because that's not the message that he came. Don't do that. When you do that, you're worshiping your own self-styled, self-created, motivational Jesus. Your Jesus is looking a lot like Anthony Robbins. You know, when I think about it, you know, he's Les Brown. He's this motivational, feel-good life coach that's telling you to get yours. Get yours in whose kingdom? You told me this was the devil's kingdom. You told me you're waiting for Jesus to return. To return to do what? Why would you want him to return? You're living good, preacher. Why would the spiritual pimp really want Jesus to return? Jesus is going to mess up his hustle by coming back. You're throwing the whole financial thing off, Jesus. You need to chill out.
And we all know that that's a rhetorical question.
Absolutely.
Because the answer should be extremely obvious. Extremely
obvious. I mean, so obvious that the fact that you can't see that, it speaks volumes as to the level of ignorance that a lot of people is under. A lot of people. Again, the spiritual pimps is creating characters inside of religious mythos, claiming to be characters incarnated from something in itself is allegorical.
And I'm going to tell you, people, and this is going to sound harsh, but the reality is what it is. There's one part about that penitentiary movie that I didn't agree with. Genie can't come back. There is no coming back. You ain't going to all of a sudden now, I know I lost my manhood, but I'm a man. No, it's over.
Oh, it's over.
You are not going to be nestled under another man's nuts, and then all of a sudden you're going to start being a man again. It's done. It's a done deal.
You didn't break out of that. You got men. We're speaking as a metaphor to these men nestled under. You got guys, again, like Dr. York, who's in jail serving 135 years, and you got people. I've spoken to people that told me he's not even in jail.
Right.
Who said he's in jail?
Yeah.
How you know? Okay. This is what I'm talking about. This is the fantastic thinking.
And you know what's so crazy? It's like you can refute and you can disprove all of these concepts on a daily basis, and it doesn't matter. You know, it just doesn't matter. Once a person has got the dogma in their mind, they don't give a damn. Truth don't mean nothing. I mean, Ishmael did a video exposing the whole Mu myth. The guy who they even claiming, you know, got the artifacts from Mu, his own family has denounced him and said that it's fake. The dude purchased the items from India. You have this mountain of evidence, and yet you still follow.
You still follow. Because it's easier to follow. That's the concept, like we talked about, Queen Ivy brought that up about the gays. Why is the gays? We talked about that whole anti-woman vibe that's in the Christian doctrine, period. You're following because you have already been seasoned to accept that somebody is coming to save you.
Mm-hmm.
You're waiting for that day. You're waiting to be saved. So if you're waiting for the bus, you're not going to find another means of transportation for you. So you're not going to say, you know what, instead of me waiting for the bus, I might as well start walking. If the bus come, good. If it don't come, I'm going to be there.
And you know what makes that philosophy extremely dangerous, Ambassador? What makes it dangerous is that what happens is that the people in power play to these dogmas.
Mm-hmm.
So now you can put out movies like 2010 and 2012, and you can always put out in the atmosphere that the world is going to end because it's playing right into your religious dogma.
Exactly. That's why they do that. The Book of Eli and the Avatar and the end of the world concept, the 2012. It's coming. It's coming. If this world
and you
comes
won't challenge it. You won't ever challenge it. Why? Because you think it's prophecy. You won't ever challenge them and the amount of destruction that these people are going to put on the planet Earth. Because you are saying, well, it must be prophecy. The Bible said it. So then why challenge it? Why form any nations? Why develop any institutions? For what?
Right.
And see, this is why I put those religion commercials and stuff on there to show people just how dangerous these philosophies are. And these philosophies are standing in the way of us empowering ourselves and getting our shit together because people are waiting on stuff to come that is not coming.
It's not coming. It's not coming. Do you understand that? The only thing that's going to come to you is you need to go to your high, unless you bringing it.
Death is coming to you.
Yeah.
Like the destruction of a great deal of the planet, because once you have an elite people who are able to position themselves in a way that no matter what happens to the Earth, if let's say that the Earth was hit with some type of nuclear holocaust or something and they had to exist for like 10, 20 years, they straight. They got their underground bunkers and they got all of this stuff already set up. So that if anything happens, push come to shove, we're going to be all right.
Yeah.
So then, of course, you can be reckless with the world.
Right. You're going to hide underground. That's why they're fighting for power. The whole thing is to save themselves. You worried about Barack Obama. I bet you the Obamas is going to, if shit jump over 2012, he's going to be the surviving Negro.
Well, isn't that the normal case? I mean, think about it. In 2012, the president, the black guy who was the scientist or whatever who was putting the thing, he was supposed to be the moral conscience of the movie. He tells the president, the people need to know. And the president's like, yes, you're right, the people need to know. So the president gets up and gives an announcement, and you see all these people looking on 42nd Street, looking at a big-ass screen while he says, you know what, we getting ready to die. I just want to give you a chance to say goodbye to all your friends. You could have been shopping. You could have been at Whole Foods or Trader Joe's. You sitting up there with bags in your hand, and you just heard from the president that your family is about to be exterminated along with you. Maybe you can't even get a signal to say goodbye. They let them know minutes before they were getting ready to die. And this is the government that these people support. The government is straight. Everything you should know by these movies and through reality lets you know that the government considers themselves a special elite class. This is not for the people, by the people. Fuck the people.
Right.
If anything goes down, we ain't telling the people shit. and we're going to get our stuff together, get our families together, and make sure that we're protected because we're the government.
Right. That the people allegedly elected, but people, again, you got to trace it back. The money put them in. The money boys put these people in. You don't know. First of all, we assume we're so naive as a people, and we so caught up and gullible under the spiritual pimps. You assume that because you cast your vote, that's really being tallied in. Like that really, they could have. For all you know, McCain could have really won if he really wanted to tally in how many American people voted, and they said, nah, that's not the agenda. The agenda is this man, this scene, this situation. He's the damage control that we need. He's the guy that we need to put in right now. We got the receipt? You get a receipt when you vote?
It was already in the works. So these guys all work together. What let me know it, and if people really want to check this out, McCain was running, when he was running, this was before the election, the voting even happened. He did a skit on Saturday Night Live making a jackass out of himself. And I was sitting there going, why is this dude doing a skit like this when he's getting ready to, people are getting ready to vote on who's the president? Because it was already done.
Yeah.
That was just some whipped cream and cherries on top to let you know, in case you was even thinking about voting for me, I'm going to show you that I don't really deserve this, and you got to go for Barack.
Sarah, yeah, exactly. And this is a little, we stretch it out because everything is everything to a certain extent, but it all is pimpery. That's the vibe of it. It's all about being pimp. I'm gonna bring in. I see a caller with the hand of 602. Is the area code 602?
Peace. This is Ivy.
Peace, Ivy. What's going on, sis?
Peace. Nothing much. Enjoying the show.
Yes, I had to do this. This show was a long time coming. Holip and I, we've built on this show for a long time, and it's time to just call it out, man.
Right. What I actually wanted to say ties into a lot of what you guys just mentioned. Pimps also like to tell the hoes what they want to hear. So no one wants to really stand up and fight for freedom. First and foremost, churches are not allowed to talk about certain subject matter, for one, because they are sanctioned by the government. Like the person said earlier, they do have, most of them have the nonprofit tax status, or considered a nonprofit organization. So, of course, they're mandated. They can't talk about, any empowerment. And plus, the average person, they don't want to, freedom takes work and it takes sacrifice, and they don't want to do that. They go to church for the euphoria. They want to go in, sing, dance, feel good, shout, let the pastor tell them what they want to hear, that it's going to be okay, and then that's it. So, and that's what pimps do. They tell their hoes, it's okay, I'm going to take care of you, you'll be all right. Right. So that's pretty much how it goes.
What's amazing is the psychology when you can show something to someone, like we showed the scriptures where in multiple places that Jesus that they follow is saying, give to the poor, sell your stuff. It's not about the money. It's not about the money. It's about what you got inside. It's not about the money. And then all of a sudden it's all about the money.
Well, first and foremost, the church is, they can't decide really what they want, what part of the Bible they want to preach from, because the Old and New Testament, they're like night and day, They're like night and day. When Jesus came along, or the teachings of Jesus, that is, or the message, Jesus basically came with the loving, forgiving, forget about it, it's going to be okay, love everybody, be peaceful. With the Old Testament, was like, especially in Leviticus, basically lays down the law. So with Leviticus and Exodus, in Genesis also, the law is being laid down. For any action, there's a reaction. So it can basically confuses a person. Okay, what do I follow? So they basically don't know what to do. But I think when Jesus came about, That was the green light for anyone to do any and everything that they wanted, but they are forgiven by the grace of God. Go out and sleep with 50 people, if you're married, but it's okay because God will forgive you. Go out and kill 1,000 people for whatever reason.
The precious blood.
Not for, but as long as when they shoot the needle in your arm for the lethal injection, as long as you say, I believe that Jesus died for my sins, you will go to heaven. Okay?
Even though you can't show me no place, not you, of course, but the people that believe in that, you can't show me no place in the Bible where Jesus said, you need to accept me as your personal Lord and Savior, and this is how you're going to get no place. It's not in there.
No, that's all their interpretation. It's all their interpretation, and even with Christianity itself, look at how many with the Protestant church, look at how many different sects and breakdowns they have.
Right, the denominations.
Right, at least with the Catholicism, it's just one thing, just one sect of Catholicism. But with the Protestant church, it's like a million breakdowns. You got your Baptist, Methodist, Pentecostal, Episcopalian, Southern Baptist, African Methodist, Episcopalian, holiness. I can't count.
All of that is,
I can't even
like
count.
I said, you got Nikes, you got the Stripes, you got the Timberlands, you got all that, but it's all in what? Foot Locker. It's all in that one store.
Exactly.
The store is in the Vatican.
Exactly, and everything has to go through the Vatican's approval. Also, which is interesting, which a lot of people don't even realize that. Why are movies going through the Vatican for approval?
Right.
Okay, if the Pope doesn't like Avatar, so what? What's the problem?
Right.
Why is that news?
Why is world leaders having to see him?
Exactly.
Why do Barack Obama have to have a meeting with the Pope? Who is he?
Why do they have to kneel down and kiss? Why do they have to kiss the ring? Why do they have to bow down and kiss the ring?
Obviously, he is somebody. He is.
Exactly.
They say that they can't even go to war without the approval of the Godfather.
Exactly. And the Vatican's in Italy. This is the United States, supposedly. So it shows a lot. It shows
this country, because it is a quote unquote Christian nation, it is locked into this paradigm. It's locked into the religious mythos. It's locked into, and that is another form of white supremacy that we're going to get into a little bit more with Gus. We're going to be on a whole lip show dealing with that. It's the imagery. It's what Francis Wellington said. When you show me as you show Jesus white and you show God as white, do you realize what you're doing to our mind? You realize how you have locked us in to a inferiority, a complex forever.
Right, and then they go with the Egyptian, the thing or the sob story with the so-called Jews where they built the pyramids and so we're to feel sorry for the so-called Jews that are supposedly now in Israel, God's quote-unquote chosen people, which are a bunch of, pale-skinned people.
Right.
And then if the United States is based upon, Christian, Christian belief or Christian doctrine, they enslave black people. So you did the same thing that happened to quote-unquote God's so-called chosen people, but this is a Christian country. Or it's based upon, Christianity.
Yeah, that's the good cop, bad cop. This is a Christian nation, yet there's so much anti-Bible things that are allowed to pervade the airwaves, on television, to go on in schools. All these priests and pimps is all screwed up in the head. They're molesting people. They're doing everything anti what on the surface is what it's supposed to be about.
And every passage that they've had, there's always been a scandal. There's always been a scandal. Even and that's with a lot of the spiritual leaders. With Dr. York, you had the scandal there, and I watched the vid. He looked very broken, and he did not look. He looked very submissive, and he did not look like he was in denial of any of those charges. Number one, why is it any pastor of any large church or mega church, there's always a scandal you know, with some infidelity or with them seeing prostitutes or the church secretary or something along those lines. Always scandal.
Who could forget? I remember February 21st. They just looked it up. 1988. I have sinned against you, my Lord. And I prayed at the prayer. And I mean, I'm talking about.
You know, my grandmother. I would spend the summers with my grandmother, and she would watch. You know, we would always have to watch that little Christian channel like every day. Okay. So I would see him. I would see Jimmy Swaggart. I would see what is that guy's name? The Bakers, Jim Baker.
Oh, Jim Baker.
Tammy Faye Baker.
Jerry Falwell.
Oral Roberts, and I forgot who else. That
it was a lot
would
of
always see.
Robert Schuller, The Hour of Power.
Right. I would see all of them, and I always used to wonder, why is that man crying all the time? Because his conscience was catching up with him. Because I'm like, he cries every single day. Every day he's crying. But I think he was crying because he was going to get caught. So
he knew what he was doing was bullshit. that was what the tears was about. He was just trying to get it. He was just trying to that's the guilt. And but at the same time, they know what they're doing with this prosperity ministry. They know it's so obvious. They know what they're doing. And,
right.
They're not
churches are not benevolent. Let me. I'll tell you what. So this happened to a family member of mine. A family member of mine was going through some financial problems, and they went to the church, and they asked for it because churches do have benevolent funds. A lot of people don't know about it, but they asked they asked for some help with the utilities and whatnot, and they had to sit before the deacon board to ask for, I think maybe like $100, maybe $100 or $200 or so for a utility bill or something like that. Now, mind you, they've always paid tithes and offering. Okay, so they sit before the deacon board and put the little request in, and they require that they show the past due utility bill, whatever. So they said that they would give the money, because they did prove that that it was past due, that the bill was past due. But they said if they came to them a second time, that they would put them in money management classes within like a certain period of time. Like if they came to them like within the next 6 months or whatever for additional help, that they would put them in money management classes. Now, money management.
Wow. This is a church.
This is a church. This is a church that did that.
Do you remember? I'm just thinking about the old Fred Price. Now, evidence. Is your life showing the evidence? He could come on there. He looked like Richard Pryor. He would come on there and talk about how much he knows the Lord and how the Lord is, this, that, and the third. I'm like,
like Richard Pryor.
Yeah, you go on there, Richard Pryor. Because it's funny he would look like Richard Pryor because when he was talking was comical a lot of times.
Right, he did look like Richard Pryor, though. He did.
Like Richard Pryor. But this was the televangelist era, and this was the era that ushered in. This is how the Creflo Dollars, the Eddie Longs, the Leroy Thompson, this is how they could become so flamboyant and just so flagrant. They didn't have the class. At least these guys they were pimps. But they had a little class with their pimping. These dudes is guerrilla. These dudes is just guerrilla pimping in these days. They just like, yo, give me this money, man.
Right. They have prosperity ministries, money seminars, and I think I saw a DVD with just money on the cover, just money. And it wasn't in green, it was in red. That was even worse.
I'm gonna see if Dev, you there?
Yes, sir.
Is this the good Reverend Dev Cash?
Yes, the good Reverend Dev Cash. What's going on, my brothers and sisters? I want to pass the plate around one more time. Hold on, brother, I got to pass the plate around before I speak to anybody. So you I need the money that folds, not that one that jingles. Put it in this plate, man, brothers and sisters. I need that money that folds.